Welcome back to AskAPop. This one really brightened my day. It wasn't on my bingo card, but the two most important people in my heart, that'd be Jesus and Tony, made it so, as old Captain Pickard would have said. You see, before I was getting ready for church today, I was going through a chore that, wow, I really love. It takes a whole lot of time. Our family takes a ton of pictures, and wow, I like to move them, and I always move them to a folder on my computer called To File. And the intent is to then move them to their permanent folder before it gets unmanageable. Yeah, right. Because, life gets in the way. And then what ends up happening is every 2 or 3 or 4 months or 6 months, then I end up with the unmanageable chore of getting to go through hundreds or thousands of pictures and moving them into their permanent home. And that's kind of what I was doing today. And it allows me to go through and take a trip, an ADD trip down memory lane of the last 4 or 5 months of my life. And it's kind of like a highlight reel. I do recommend that, by the way, simply because, again, it's a highlight reel of your life. Well, while I was doing that today, I ended up coming across some of the most beautiful pictures of the most beautiful woman in the world while we were on an anniversary trip to Blowing Rock. Now, admittedly, I may be a little bit biased, but I think these pictures could absolutely end up being in the cover of a magazine, on the cover of a magazine and in a magazine. Now, why am I turning this into an SSA? Well, it's kind of twofold. First, I think we should all stop, take time, and stop and smell the roses, so to speak, because all of those gotta do's shouldn't get in the way of our loved ones, and just stop and remember just how lucky we are to have them in our lives. And secondly, let them know how lucky we are to have them in our lives. That's just a thought from a guy that's lucky enough to have spent almost half of his life at this point with the greatest gal on the planet. Now, the Bible verse today is Proverbs 31:10 through 31. As far as questions go, I know others, not naming names, like to leave all their pictures in one big old pile, and I know others that, like, again, not naming names, go into great detail to put lots of descriptions and tags on their pictures, so then that way they can go back and have them in a lot of different categories and folders. Like I said, I'm kind of in the middle where I'll end up putting them into pics on phones and have dates for when they got taken and stuff. So I'd like to think I'm in the middle. And really, the reason that I'm asking this is to see whether you use the pics, going back over your pictures to take trips down memory lane as well. God bless you and have a wonderful day.